Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. It's a wonderful fall day, is it not? I'm Teresa Holmes. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. I'm Club President. Thank you for joining us today. Today's meeting is sponsored by Bob Dindorf and Charles McLymans of Holy Wisdom Monastery. Our thanks to their support of today's luncheon. Let's direct our attention to the opening music. Bob Dindorf will lead us in the singing of This Land Is Your Land with Jeff Bartell on the piano, and following our music, our guest will be introduced by Janet Pereno.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking a ribbon of highway, I saw above me an endless skyway. I saw below me a golden valley. This land was made for you and me too. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me, all of us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janet Pereno, and I am delighted to read the names of our many guests today. The guests, if you could please stand when I call your name and remain standing, and so that we can recognize you all at once. So Joanne Robbins is here as a guest of Joyce Bromley. And I am particularly honored to announce the family of Nelson Cummings, all guests of Nelson. And this includes Stephen, Kathy, Jeffrey, Timothy, Patrick, Christopher, and Sydney Cummings. Welcome. But wait, there's more. And to go on with our guests, they also include Sarah Phillips, also a guest of Nelson Cummings, Bjørnulf Ernstsen, our Denmark Rotarian, a guest of Martin Louth, Val Harches, a guest of Nick Curran, Laura Sauser, a guest of Margaret Murphy, Carlton Jenkins, a guest of Martha Vukalik-Austin, Katya Jimenez, guest of Anthony Gray, Marion Riemann, a guest of Paul Riemann, Johnny Milton and Emma Hansen, both guests of Wes Sparkman, Hallie Heiser, guest of Laura Gallagher, and finally Elizabeth Hetrick, guest of Nino Amato. Please welcome our guests.
Janet. Thank you, Bob, Jeff, and Janet. And I must say that if people thought or think that I'm full of energy from the podium, well, I'm really revved up because Nelson Cummings is in the room today. There are many people that are here today, Nelson, that may not normally be here, but they're here because of you. And so we wanted to say that and make sure that you knew it. Yeah. All right, on with our program. I am pleased to announce that our club received a 2020-21 Rotary citation from Rotary International. This citation is the most significant award a Rotary club can achieve. Our club demonstrated a commitment to achieve its goals, which ultimately helped strengthen Rotary and shape our future. I'd like to ask George Hidalgo, our president from last year, to please stand as we congratulate you for leading us through a successful and challenging year and earning us this citation for our club. Thank you, George. Okay, Rotarians, it's election season for our club. And so we will begin to announce our directors and nominees until our election on November 10th. We have 12 members who serve 2-year staggered terms on our club board as directors, with 6 members elected annually. The immediate past president also serves a 1-year term. Our current board members are, if you're in the room, would you please stand? Brian Baskin, Herman Bauman, Mark Clear, Stephen Elke, George Hidalgo, Anita Muhammad, Charles McLymans, Mary O'Brien, Valerie Rank, Lee Richardson, Scott Strong, who will replace Deb Archer as of November 1st, Rob Vandenberg, and Cheryl Whitkey. Let's give them all a round of applause for their service. Thank you. As I mentioned, our board has 2-year staggered terms, so Mark, Stephen, George, Anita, Mary, Lee, and Cheryl will be rolling off the board on June 30th of next year. We now begin the process of electing 6 new board members to replace those outgoing board members who are serving. The nominating committee has reviewed over 60 names, and I'm pleased to announce or to introduce the 12 nominees. The following members have agreed to place their names in nomination. I think I need a drum roll. Mary Donahue, Mike Gotzler, Mark Green, Annette Helmer, Jason Ilstrip, Ron Luskin, Mike McKay, Casey Okers, Janine O'Rourke, Jen Savino, James Ty, and Alex Vitani. Each of these members, yes. Each of these members have served as a chair of a committee or a fellowship group, which is one of the criteria for that the committee reviews. On November 10th, the membership will select 6 of these leaders to join our board for a 2-year term beginning next July 1st. The 12 nominees actually represent the future leaders of our club, and any combination of 6 of these individuals will serve our club well for the next 2 years. Because of the pandemic, we will continue to use electronic balloting for this election. We'll be sending an email to all members on November 10th, and members will need to click on the link and complete the ballot by noon that day. We'll also be sending a ballot to any member without an email address 10 days before the election takes place, so that you have sufficient time to get the ballot back to us. Our club bylaws also provide for the possibility of additional nominations. So any 20 voting members may nominate additional candidates. Additional nominations must be submitted in writing and filed with Pat Jenkins, our executive director, in the Rotary office by Wednesday, October 27th. That's next week. Thanks again to the 12 nominees who have agreed to place their names in the nomination this year. Today is a very special day, and again, it's so good to see Nelson in the room and his family with him. Renee Moe, a member of our Member Recognition Committee, is going to come up and present a special award to Nelson.
That is pre-applause for Nelson. We're so excited about this. So excited. I hope you are too. Oh, good. Okay. Our club's Joseph G. Werner Meritorious Service Award is granted in recognition of outstanding club service in the Rotary tradition of service above self. Joseph G. Werner was a committed Rotarian. He chaired many significant committees, both before and after, serving as club president from 1953 to 54. He served as district governor and became the second member of this club to serve as director of Rotary International. He later served Rotary International in many other positions. And following his death in 1974, the club established the Joseph G. Werner Meritorious Service Award as the club's highest recognition for club service. Highest recognition for club service. The Werner Honor is not an annual event, but is given under very special circumstances when warranted. And I didn't know this, but when I prepared with Nelson, he said he'd actually met Joseph Werner. Today, we are going to recognize Nelson Cummings, a valued member who we all adore, with this prestigious award. We are pleased that his 4 sons and other family members are all here today in the audience as we recognize Nelson. Nelson was born in Springfield, Illinois on August 18, 1934. He received an AB degree from Texas College and holds a master's degree from St. Francis College. He came to Madison in 1968 to become the first director of the Madison Urban League. He later became a counselor at Beloit School System and worked for Madison Public Schools and Wisconsin Education Association. Within the community, Nelson has served on the boards of Catholic Charities, Dane County Mental Health Center, Madison Hospital Foundation, and Four Lakes Council of the Boy Scouts. He was also a member of the Madison Redevelopment Authority for 10 years. In 1969, Nelson was the first African American to join our Rotary Club. As he says, my color didn't matter, but other people noticed that. He maintained 100% attendance starting in 1973 until the pandemic caused us to stop holding in-person meetings last year. In fact, Nelson holds the 3rd longest record of 100% attendance of our club, and he has enjoyed seeing 52 club presidents appear at our podium. You can applaud for that. He was on our club's bowling team and led the Civic Bowling League for 40 years, and he bowled every year until he retired. Nelson says that even though it was sometimes lonely because the league didn't look like him, he was accepted and enjoyed the company of so many Rotarians. He says, I love Rotary. You meet so many fine people you would not otherwise meet. I come to meetings because I enjoy it. It has broadened my opportunities, and it is educational. He takes Rotary's 4-way test to heart, and he is especially proud of the scholarship program and the many students we're able to assist each year in obtaining a college education. Nelson says the greatest Rotary achievement he recalls is when women were allowed to join the club in 1987. He reflected very fondly on that. More applause, Nelson. Nelson has been a longtime volunteer of our annual Rotary Ethics Symposium, and he loves greeting the students and helping them feel welcome at our event. Nelson has also served on our club board of directors. Nelson is a pillar of our Rotary Club. He is always a friendly face in the audience, and he makes everyone he meets feel welcomed. We enjoy his company, and the recognition we are providing him today is so well-deserved. It gives me great pleasure to recognize Nelson Cummings as our 30th recipient of the Rotary Club of Madison Joseph G. Werner Meritorious Service Award. Congratulations, Nelson.
Thank you so much, Renee. And thank you again, Nelson. Our Community Projects Committee connects members to volunteer activities in our community. Tim Stottleman is a member of that committee, and he has an announcement.
Thank you, President Teresa. I'm here today as member of the Community Projects Committee, as she said. And our committee, under Mary Pat Williams' leadership, is continuing to provide members with opportunities to serve in the community for those that are able. And we've got some great opportunities coming up in November. On Saturday, November 6th, there are blue flyers on your table that we tell you what we'll be doing at the Community Action Coalition's Coats for Kids distribution. This year it's actually called Winter Glow, and they're going to be providing a number of other services in addition to distributing coats. So you'll have the opportunity. It's at the Goodman Community Center from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock on a Saturday, November 6th, and we'll be helping sorting coats, displaying hats and gloves and mittens, and helping with the setup and cleanup. And then on Saturday, November 20th, we have another opportunity with 2 shifts available for assembling Thanksgiving baskets for the Goodman Community Center. You'll be helping unload and organize the food donations and preparing for distribution of those baskets. The shifts are from 8:30 to 11:15, excuse me, and 11:15 to 2:30 on the 20th at the Goodman Community Center. And you may well be inside or outside, so bring some warm clothes. Like I mentioned, there are sheets on the tables for each of those. We've also added an option. Jane put together the ability to sign up on our website on the calendar, so very easy. Even I can do that. So take an opportunity. You can always contact Jane or anyone at the office to help as well as we continue to try to serve the community in whatever way we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. Just a quick reminder that the committee is also collecting toiletry items for their Soaptober event for Porchlight. So please refer to the Friday's email for more details, and you can bring your items to next week's meeting. And the baskets or the buckets will be right over there. All right, Sunday, October 24th marks this year's World Polio Day, which brings awareness about Rotarians' continuing efforts to raise funds to eradicate polio from the world. Rotary has been working to eradicate polio for more than 35 years, and polio cases have been reduced by 99.9%. Rotarians around the world have contributed to more than $2.1 billion and countless volunteer hours to protect nearly 3 billion children in 122 countries from this paralyzing disease. Today, polio only yes, I agree. Today, polio only remains in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And as a reminder, our club makes a $30 contribution to this effort in the name of the speaker each week as a way of saying thank you to our speaker and a way to help with Rotary's continuing effort to eradicate polio from around the world. There will also be an upcoming event for the Pints for Polio activity at HQ in Oregon, which will be part of a future announcement that I'll have. Birthdays! Yes, we're excited. And you thought it was just singing, right? We celebrate people here a lot. I love it. We have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor or wisdom that complements our Rotary mission. We also encourage members to make an age-appropriate gift, excuse me, to the Madison Rotary Foundation, rounded up to $100 for our club's Synergy Scholarship Fund. If you are standing, or if you're in the room, please stand when I call your name. October 7th, Dort's back. October 18th, past President Paul Reineman. October 18th, Joe Sensenbrenner. October 19th, Paul Fleer. October 21st, Marcy Henderson. October 21st, Laura Peck. October 21st, Ernie Stettenfeld. October 21st, Charles Tubbs, who shares a quote from Helen Keller: "The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision." October 22nd, Joan Ziegler. Thanks to our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation. Please join me in wishing them a happy birthday. To you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. We do have some members in the news, but before I mention those items, I would like to let members know that Bobby Slatsky's mother, Rosemary Slatky, passed away on September 22nd in La Crosse. We extend our condolences to Bobby and their family. We do have one member in the news item to share. Marv Libby was pictured and quoted in an article about his family's recent gift to the UW-Madison to build a new letters and science academic building. It will be called the Irving and Dorothy Levy Hall. Thank you to Marv and his brother Jeff for this outstanding gift to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And I will add, I don't know how many of you noticed, Marv was wearing his Rotary pin. Indeed he was. All right, on to our program. Today's speaker is Erin Lavery. Erin holds a Master's of Administrative Leadership in Adult and Continuing Education programs with a focus in workforce development through the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. She is a senior certified professional and certified trainer for situational leadership, development dimensions, international, and crucial conversation. She is currently the Director of Training and Development, where she is focused on developing organization-wide strategies to foster a culture of growth and connection at Exact Sciences Laboratories. Erin is going to tell us about adopting a change mindset and making the choice for change. And in this club, where we are experiencing the evolution of change, we are glad that you are here. In this session, she will introduce us to a mental framework that allows you to evaluate change in a new way. We look forward to your presentation, Erin, and we have made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way of saying thank you for speaking to us today. I also want to mention that for the Q&A session, we will have, if time allows, after our speaker is done, but please wait for the microphone. Let's welcome Erin to our podium.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak with you today. Change is a topic that I know impacts all of us. And if you doubted it, then you haven't been paying attention for the past 18 months. So we have 20 minutes together, right? If we want to have some time for questions, which I really want to do. I want to honor that. And so the challenge that I have in front of me today is, what new thing can we learn about change when we've been experiencing it our entire lives? And oh, by the way, you have 20 minutes. So I'm going to tackle that. Challenge accepted, as I like to say. So what I'm going to do, in the spirit of the amount of time that we have, is I'm going to put this whole framework up at the same time. And what I would normally do is I would start at the left and I would very logically work my way all the way to the right, and we would work our way through this mental framework. But that's not how change has unfolded in the past 2 years. Since the pandemic has happened, change is coming rapidly. It's come to our businesses, it's come to our families, and we've had to adapt to that change. And so what I'd like to do instead is to walk you through changes that I've lived in my life over the past 2 years, as they relate to business, as they relate to family, and talk to you about how this mental model has helped me to decide where it is that I have agency. Because that's the thing about change, right? The thing about change is we ask ourselves often the question, well, what can I control and what can't I? And when we decide that there are things that we can't control, we throw our hands in the air and we say, well, guess I can't control that. Nothing I can do. Or we say, I can't control it, but I sure can rail against it. And we're bitter, and we're angry, and we try to change it even though we know we can't. And so the reality is, one of the things that's most confusing to us about change isn't how to weather it. It's how to figure out what choices we have within it. And 9 times out of 10, unless we're really thinking about it, we answer that question wrong. So let's think about where we have choice within change, and let's not surrender our agency to be able to make those choices. So the pandemic started, and as you heard, I work at Exact Sciences. I'm the Director of Training and Development for the lab organization. And so I have 120 trainers that report through my organization that help to onboard individuals into the sciences, into customer service, and into lab order entry. It's a big task, right? It's a big task. And what happened at the beginning of the pandemic was a meeting that I sat in. And I remember, I'll never forget this. Early in the week, I had had an employee start And she said, hey, I'm nervous. I'm hearing about this thing called COVID, and I'm wondering, do you think it's going to impact us? And I said, no. Probably not, right? And then 3 days later, I'm sitting in a meeting with all of the heads of the different departments within the Exact Sciences Laboratory, and we're asking ourselves the question, what's the responsible thing to do here, right? And so here I am, I'm sitting in this meeting where we're trying to decide, do we send people home to work from their homes? Do we ask them to continue to come in to the building? What are we going to do, and how are we going to quickly pivot? And it would have been easy to say, I have no control over this situation. What will happen will happen. But the reality is, 9 times out of 10, we give up our agency and change. And so here I am, sitting in the room where it happens, figuring out what is the strategy for our business. And I have control, right? In this situation, in this change, I can decide, do I have control, or is this a change that's outside of my control? And in this situation, sitting in this room, asking the question, what should we do, I'm in a place where I have some control over this change. And so we start to take a look at the business, and we start to analyze, what is the risk? If we stay in the building, what is the risk? And if we go home, what is the risk? And we start to look at it from a business perspective, and I have this moment where I realize I have a really strong opinion about this. I know it's right for the business that we go home. But here's the thing, our leaders are scared. They've never led virtually before. We've never had to send people home to work from home before. This is net new. So I'm in this situation where I can control the outcome, and now I'm faced with three choices. Do I simply allow this to unfold? Do I make the choice to lead it in a certain direction? Or, because I know that the direction we're heading isn't right, do I make the choice to change it? And in this moment, I know it is right to send people home. And here's the other thing. I'm the director of training and development. We have 120 people who are really good at training people really quickly, right? So in this moment, I know the right thing. I have control and agency in this situation, and my choice is, I need to lead this change forward. If the business is telling me we don't know how to lead virtually, we'll train you how to lead virtually. If they're saying we don't know how to onboard virtually, we'll figure it out. We'll train virtually. And so what I can do in this moment is I can lead forward this change in the way that I know is the right decision, because I have services and skills and talent and people that we can offer to solve the problems that are standing in the way. And so in this moment, I have the responsibility to lead this change. And that's what we do. And so we send people home. Right? And we work on flipping all of our online training, or all of our in-person training, to be virtual. And we start to figure out what it means and what it looks like to work from home with, my 7-year-old and my 4-year-old scurrying around behind me in the background. And then we start to hear, hey, this isn't going away anytime soon. Let's flatten the curve. Lockdown. And I'm looking at pictures from Italy, and I'm seeing people standing on their balconies and singing songs next to each other to build community. I live on a cornfield, and so it would be really awkward if I just belted out into the cornfield as I went through this change. But I had some really important questions, things like, what does a lockdown mean? And more importantly, are they going to collect my garbage? Is anyone going to come and am I going to get mail? Is someone going to give me mail, or does lockdown mean I get nothing? Is my garage now a garbage center? What's going to happen? And when we think about what can I control and what can't I control, I'm good, right? I'm good. But I can't control whether or not the government decides to put us on a lockdown. I'm not that good. I have no control in this situation. I have no control of whether or not this is going to happen or what it's going to look like. And so I have a choice still, right? Because 9 times out of 10, we give up the choice that we do have. And here's my choice. I can't control whether we go on a government lockdown. I can't control whether or not I get my garbage. But I have a choice to either rail against it, to stress myself out, to have anger about it, to have sleepless nights, to worry about it, to have anxiety, to have depression, or I can be aware of the fact that there's some things that I need to figure out. I can be aware of the fact that even though I can't control the situation, I know how I'm feeling. I am aware of the fact that this is stressful. I'm aware of the fact that I can't control it. I'm going to confirm that real quick, right? I'm aware of how I'm feeling. I'm aware of the situation. And my next step is I'm going to accept what I need to accept about this, which is I can spend all my time, energy, and effort trying to change the government's mind about a lockdown, or I can spend all my time, energy, and effort preparing for what I know needs to happen or what questions I need to have answered. And that's our choice. In the can't control, we are not a victim of the change. In situations where we can't control the change, we have a choice to either allow ourselves to be swept away as the victim of that or to be aware of how we're feeling, to name it, to truly accept, is there anything in here that I have control over? And from that to start to prepare. And so I'll tell you what my preparation looked like. I went on Reddit. Do you guys know Reddit? So Reddit is an online, it's the front page of the internet, as they say. And I go online and I ask the question in this open forum on COVID-19, do they pick up your garbage? And the way Reddit works, right, is if someone thinks that's a really good question, we should probably get an answer to it, they upvote it, they give it a plus. And then that gets it higher and higher and higher on the list so that everyone sees it so someone can answer the question. I've been on Reddit for about 20 years now. It's the highest upvoted post that I've ever had with no comments. Right? Okay. So now I'm still aware of the fact that I need some answers here. I need to know what's going to happen. And so where can I go, right? Again, I could say, well, no one answered my question. I'm stuck. No. I have agency here. So where am I going to go? Where am I going to get answers to the things that I need to understand in order to prepare? So we continue through summer, and they do pick up my garbage, which was really nice, by the way, just in case you were wondering whatever happened. They pick up our garbage. We continue through summer, and things start to get better, right? Or at least they seem like they get better, because it's summer, so you can all hang out outside, and we're hearing these rumors about the vaccine coming. And so my husband and I start to get alerts from the school. My daughter's about to go into kindergarten, and the alerts sound like, so what are you going to do? Are you going to send your daughter to kindergarten? Are you not? We're like, oh, this is up to us. This is our choice that we have to make. And so my husband and I spent a lot of time thinking about what do we want to do. We had the option to kind of roll with what the district was saying. We had the option to pull her out and send her into a virtual academy in Middleton, and Middleton gave us that option. And we thought, well, what do we want here? And so on my change mindset, my first question is this something I can control, or is this something that I can't control? And the reality is when it comes to this, I have complete and total control of what happens for my daughter. My husband and I had been watching her throughout the pandemic. We pulled her out of daycare, and she was home most days. And we watched her get sadder and sadder. She's 5 years old. She's not surrounded by friends. She's tenacious. She's a learner, and she was learning a lot, but it wasn't the same. And she was lonely. And so we thought, boy, how do we make this call between what feels like the choice between safety and her happiness? And so we knew that we had control over the situation, but the question is, what do I do now? Do I allow it to unfold? Do I lead it forward, or do I change it? And do I try to script it in a certain direction that serves best what we know is right? My husband and I spent a lot of time talking about, well, what would we need to know in order to feel comfortable? We would need to know that the district has a pulse on what's happening. We would need to know that the strategies that they're putting in place are going to be responsive to things as they unfold. And we're going to need to know that it's the right choice for her. We also need to rely on people who had access to information that we didn't have access to. And so as much as we can control this situation, we're also in a place where we rely on the expertise of others. And so we made the conscious choice to allow this change to unfold. We made the conscious choice not to pull her into virtual, but to say, we will go with the flow with where the district is headed. We fully believe and we trust that if it is unsafe to be in person, that they will continue virtual. And that as they do that virtually, they will find ways to engage and help our daughter to make social connections again. And so we truly believed that. And we allowed that change to unfold. And I'm glad we did. And I truly think that we made the right decision. Here's the interesting thing about the allow it strategy. We have control in this situation, and what we chose was non-action. And that is also a choice. You may, in a situation, have control. That doesn't mean you have to lead it. It doesn't mean that you have to change it. Maybe you allow it. And maybe you choose non-action, but you ask yourself, what are the parameters that are most important where I know that I will need to begin to act if something changes? And so what's interesting about the allow it strategy up here in the change mindset is you actually take on all the strategies of your can't control. So now I'm allowing this change to unfold. I'm aware of how I'm feeling. I'm accepting what I am and am not comfortable with. And I am preparing for the list of things that I need to see happen in order to continue with this strategy. And at the point that those things change, then I need to change my approach. And so, again, what's interesting is our ability to sometimes give up agency when we need to keep it, and our ability sometimes to not allow ourselves non-action when that's the right choice. And it is a choice. So the pandemic continues to unfold, vaccinations come out, and the business starts to talk about return to the office. Most of our employees are vaccinated, feels like it's a safe time. We were blissfully unaware of the Delta variant. And so they started to talk about return to office. Now, here's what's happened in the past year since my team has transitioned to home. Every single new employee that starts, that goes through training, goes through virtual training with my team. So any employee that starts in the lab organization goes through virtual training in their home or their home office, and my team gets to stay at home, facilitating from home where they're safe. And so when the business said, let's talk about a strategy to return to office, my first question was, are you going to have new employees start in the office? Right? Where and how are the trainers on my team going to train? And the decision from the business was, well, we're going to keep the new employees starting virtually, and we'll transition other people back into the office. So your team will continue to facilitate and train virtually. Okay. I'm in the room where it happens. Do I have control? Do I not have control of the outcome of this? I have control here. Do I allow this to unfold? I don't know. Do I lead it? I think there's some adjustments we need to make in this strategy. So my choice is clear. I change it. I say to the business, I hear you. I understand what you want to do is transition people who have been at home for a while and with the organization for a while back into the office, and that makes complete and total sense. Yes, it does. And if you're going to start new employees from home, and my team has to train from home or train virtually, why would I put them back in harm's way? If they have to do all of their work virtually, why can't I allow them to continue to do that virtually from their home where I know that they're safe? And so I worked really hard to advocate to change that strategy so that as long as individuals started at home, we continued to train them at home, that the trainers had the advantage of continuing to stay at home. And that's exactly what happened. And so again, this opportunity, I can control this situation. Do I allow it to unfold? No, I don't think it's headed in the right direction. Do I lead it? I think we need to make some tweaks here. Okay, then my can control is I now have an obligation and a responsibility to change it to what I know is right. And that's the thing about change mindset, right? The first question that we ask ourselves is, can I or do I have control in this situation? And if the answer is yes, we ask ourselves, okay, then what role is right for me to play? Do I allow it to unfold and choose non-action? Do I champion it and make sure that it happens and that it happens well? Or are there process improvements or changes that I need to make in order to make sure that this change serves in all the best ways that we know that it can? And if when that change unfolds, I ask myself this first question and the answer is no, I can't control this. At the end of the day, as much as I try, I can't control Beltline traffic. I've tried for 15 years I've tried to control beltline traffic, and I can't do it, but I can leave my house earlier, right? And so that's even where there's a situation that we can't control. What are we aware of? What do we need to accept in that situation? And what do we need to do to prepare for it? Because we are not a victim of it, even though we can't control it. So that's the framework that I want to introduce you to. And as you have different changes that unfold, I would challenge you to ask yourself those questions. Can I or can't I control this? And within that, what strategy best serves me? Don't give up agency where you have it, but don't rail where you don't need to. That, I think, is the secret of change. I'm going to pause and ask if there are questions that we want to go through as we think about change. Thank you. Yeah. I think there are microphones on the move.
So could you talk about adaptability as a trait of humans, and whether, something I've been thinking about lately, whether there can be too much adaptability and that people start to lose their agency if they're too adaptable? Is
So
that a thing?
If I'm hearing your question correctly, I'm gonna tell you what I think I understand of your question, and then you can tell me how wrong I am. Are you asking about change fatigue? Is there a point at which we have to be so adaptable or go through so many changes that we fatigue out of agency?
Maybe. That could be a consequence of too much adaptability.
Of too much adaptability? I don't know. This is my stall technique, actually. Okay, so your question is about adaptability, right? And whether we get to a point where we actually give up agency out of maybe some self-preservation. And I'm going to say that that's absolutely the case. And I'm going to say that it doesn't mean you're a victim to it. So when we think about my daughter and we think about schooling, one of the reasons that we took the allow it strategy is because we had no more capacity. We had no capacity to either lead it, we had no capacity to change it, and it would have been false for us to say that we couldn't control it. And so what we did is we chose to very strategically use allow it to give ourselves a moment to go, okay, right? And so, yeah, we can get that fatigue, and adaptability can be difficult. The question is, don't give up, right? Then the strategy is don't give up on where you do have agency, but admit fully in your own mind that you're going to choose and allow it, because at that point it serves you best for where you are with everything else. Yeah.
Thank you. You impress me as a person who's confident. And I think that the difficulty many of us have in making such decisions and following a model like yours is we're not confident. And what can you do to give us some advice about how we can build our confidence?
That's a great question. I would love to tell you that all of the decisions that we had to make throughout the pandemic, I was able to look at it and go, it's clear the right action immediately. I didn't. A lot of this is deep self-reflection. It's self-reflection in that moment outside of the decision-making moment. And one of the best pieces of advice that I can give when it comes to how to choose right strategy is to give yourself time. I do not make decisions quickly. It would probably serve me better if I did make them a little bit more quickly. And anytime my family goes out to dinner, everyone in my family will tell you it would be really nice if you could pick your meal faster. But I can't. I just can't do that. And so a lot of the work that I do is asking for the time that I need to know that I'm making the right decision. And with that reflection and with looking at the data and thinking about the implications, I build the confidence that I need to make my case because I've given myself the time to know that I'm moving in the right direction. And I think sometimes a lack of confidence comes from a lack of allowing ourselves reflection time to really choose the right action. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your presentation. You have such an unusual set of skills and perspectives. But one of the things that occurs to me is what you're doing is permitting yourself to be just blown along by the forces that if you don't analyze them, appear to be impossible to change or do anything other than be swept along. Helpless is what the word is. Yeah. And that's a skill of stepping back and identifying your options and making a rational analysis and not just letting it go and not making a choice. So you're making choices. I'm curious, what is your training? Is this a result of self-introspection, which I'm sure much of it is, but what is your formal training?
Thank you. My formal training and background, or in this model specifically?
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, and. Okay, got it.
What is the model called?
Oh, it's called I built this for the Rotary Change Mindset.
It's your model.
Yeah, so right? That's right, that's a Rotary's model now. You can sell that anywhere you want. So it's really interesting. My formal training is in a couple different areas. One is organizational development design. The other is adult learning. So really what causes adults to make behavior change. So adult psychology and understanding how adults learn and how they apply that learning in practice. And then the other part is process improvement. And so what's been really interesting throughout my career is I've had a chance to lean in and do those in different ways throughout. And so there was a point in my life when I was helping hospitals to adopt Lean Six Sigma. And so the work that I was doing was really teaching people how to do process improvement. And if you had talked to me at that point in my life, I would have said, if you don't like it, change it. Everything is change it. Everything we do is process improvement. And that got really tiring. And unpopular, extremely. And then, so you know, as I progressed and as I learned more, I started to understand and started to really work on my own mindfulness and start a mindfulness practice, right? And really start to understand how is it that I understand and see what's around me, and how do I then choose action or inaction in a way that serves me best. And so if you had asked me at that point in my life, I would have been like, you can't control anything. Let it all unravel. And so what this is a slow build over time of times in my life and strategies that I've taken on where I've been all in one camp or all in the other. And I've slowly started to realize that this isn't about one way or the other. It's about the strategy that you choose to take. And that's the birth of this model. So it's a blend of a lot of different things. But I think at heart, it is giving myself the permission to have agency always. Yeah.
Thank you for the very thought-provoking presentation. One of the scenarios you brought up was returning to work and the potential that you guys would stay virtual. What if your attempt to change that and influence that decision, what if they had said no and ordered you all back to the office?
That's
so
a
in other
great
words, as soon as
question.
your strategy had failed, what then?
Then I would be in a can't control. And so then I would say to myself, I am aware of the fact that this is extremely frustrating. I am aware of the fact now, and I am learning to accept that there are things within this that I thought I had control over that it turns out that I don't. And so what now is the preparation action that I need to take to ensure that there are policies and practices that are within my control that keep my team safe and keep us serving the business? So it would have catapulted me into a can't control, and I would have worked my way through that three-part process of awareness, acceptance, and then preparation in order to make sure that I was doing what I could do in that situation.
Oh, that's true. Don't touch the mic. So I have a question.
Yes.
So many of us in this room, many of the people in this room are experiencing the model. We're actually walking through the model that you created for us. And so we have a new governance plan, we have a new leadership structure, we have a new member recruitment plan, and a new retention plan. And so I should say maybe in the process of making decisions about whether or not while we're learning about all of these different things, there are many of them, right? How can we best, as individuals, apply this model to what we're doing? It's different. It often can be challenging. There are lots of things going on, and there are many of us who are doing it all at the same time.
Yeah. I think one of the most important things for organizations or groups as they work through this model together is to continue to go back to what is our guiding light? What is the principle that we're working toward? Because what you see on the screen, these are strategies, right? And strategies are different than the vision. And if as a group you commit to the same vision, you can disagree on strategy and still move forward. At the point that you lose vision, you will not be moving in the same direction regardless of your strategy. So when you agree on vision but disagree on strategy, you allow yourselves the space to have ideological conflict, right? We're having conflict, but it's about this philosophy and it's about our strategy and it's not about you. And it's not about the fact that we don't get along or we're not trying to do the same thing. And so I would say as an organization, never lose sight and never stop believing that you all want the same thing. You just maybe are taking a different path to get there, and allow space for that. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, Rotarians, we are adjourned.